So, the Shabalala Ding Dong. That's not the opening. We're not doing that. That's too gross for the opening. Well, that was an ending. Or a beginning. It was an ending.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and this is going to be my spoiler review for the finale. Yes, that is right. We are finally here of Marvel's What If. And I gotta say, it was a pretty good finale. I have watched it twice, and I enjoyed it immensely both times. I think it was very well done, very put together for this final climactic showdown between the Guardians of the Multiverse and the villainous Ultron omnipotence, or whatever you want to call it. This is a spoiler review, as all of these reviews have been, so you have been warned. I'm going to talk about the episode. Don't know how in-depth I'm going to get, but I'm going to give the basic rundown of the episode, my overall thoughts of the episode, as well as the series as a whole, and if they decide to do a season 2, because we didn't get any sort of confirmation that there will be a season 2, but come on, there's so many stories that you can tell, so many loose threads left unpulled, even from this first season, and it'll be interesting to see if they decide to bring it back for a season 2. So here's hoping, and that's your spoiler warning. So this episode kicks off basically by revisiting all of the heroes that we have gotten to know over the course of the season. We begin with Peggy Carter, who is still Captain Carter, and her reintroduction is basically just the beginning of Captain America the Winter Soldier, almost like a shot for shot, with her and Black Widow having a pretty strong friendship before she is pulled out of her universe by the Watchers, saying that she has been chosen. And then we get this for every other character that we basically had the opportunity to have individual episodes for. We get to see T'Challa, who is battling Ego from the little teaser at the end of his episode, from episode 2. We get to see the result of Killmonger's reign of terror over Wakanda, and Shuri and Pepper going to arrest him, but he's pulled out of time, as well as Party Thor, who is battling Ultron bots in his universe, since his universe is already under attack, while Ultron is still slowly but surely spreading across the multiverse. And then they're all pulled into a pub where they're greeted by Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, or the Doctor Strange Supreme. I never know what to call him. I really don't. But it's the he's not really evil too, but he's introducing them, as well as we get the introduction of another member of this team, Gamora, who is fully decked out in Thanos' armor that we see in Infinity War and Endgame. And her introduction is that her and Tony Stark are at Nidavellir. I remembered it. Nidavellir from Avengers Infinity War, and they're melting down the Infinity Gauntlet because she has defeated Thanos, and she's one of the sole survivors of Sakaar, along with Tony Stark, whose Iron Man armor is decked out in the Sakaar sort of bright colors and runes and stuff like that. But she is chosen by the Watcher, and who also takes the point of knocking Tony Stark down a peg by saying, "Not you, Stark. I don't want you." And it's just very indicative of how the series has really taken the opportunity to break down and shit on Tony Stark, which is not a terrible thing. I mean, the man's been the forefront of the entire MCU for most of its existence. So it's funny to see how the rest of the multiverse treats him. I mean, he's died in like 3 episodes, and in this episode, he's basically kind of scoffed off. If I have a knock on the episode, I have like 1 or 2, but one of my knocks on the episode is that we do get this really badass Gamora, but we don't really get much of her backstory because she's introduced in this episode, and that's the only time we've ever gotten an opportunity to really see her in action. I think she's a great character, and I'm curious to see what her backstory is, or her episode would have been, but unfortunately we didn't really get a chance to explore that. Maybe we will in the season 2. So once they're all in the pub, they're kind of getting the feel for each other, and that's when the Watcher lays down the entire mission that they have to save the multiverse from Ultron, who is going around destroying universes at this point. And they agree, although Thor almost gets blown out of existence because he stupidly opens the door. There's some comedy, there's some merriment between the two. And the whole time you can definitely tell that they're obviously not a formed team, but they work really well together, especially when in the upcoming fight. I like the interaction of all the characters. I think all the characters work really well together, and they prove it too when they're taking it to Ultron in the final fight. But there's also that looming threat of the potential and proven betrayal of Killmonger, who has one of the Ultron bots' heads. And in the entire episode, you see him scheming the way he did in episode 6, where he's just planning his next move. And it's very obvious to Gamora, who clearly doesn't trust him, but Thor, being the lovable, lightheaded one, trusts everybody. That's what he kind of says as they're preparing to lure Ultron to their location, basically, to confront him and try to steal the stones, because this version of Gamora also has a way of destroying the stones, apparently. I do like the interaction between the Watcher and Doctor Strange. I definitely like that pairing. I'm curious to see if we'll get that pairing again in the season 2, because Doctor Strange is definitely using this as a way to repent or to find some sort of, I guess, forgiveness for his actions or growth. And you see that growth throughout the episode too. We also get a really cool interaction between Captain Carter and Doctor Strange, where they basically, she asks him, you know, what happened, basically, because he seems to start losing control a little bit. If you remember from his episode, he basically has a whole bunch of demons and stuff inside of him, literally. And it's all that power does take some concentration. And he admits that he did it the same reason that Peggy Carter did what she did, for love. And it's a very, like I said, from when I did the review for his episode, even though I kind of ranted at him for his arrogance, it is a tragic character, it really is. And this episode really allowed him to begin the path of redemption, so to speak. Basically, trying to save the multiverse since he was unable to save his universe. And as well as it's cool to see that him and the Watcher have formed this sort of friendship, basically. He even admits it towards the end of the episode that, what are friends for? Eventually get Ultron appearing to them, because the universe that they're in currently doesn't have a lot of intelligent life, so that's why Ultron isn't interested in it. But Thor, being the Thor that he is, wilds out a little bit and causes the attention of Ultron to come to this universe. And that's where we get the plan of them trying to steal one of the stones in order to give it to Gamora so that she can use the Infinity Smasher to destroy the rest of the stones with it. It's a pretty cool tool, and you get to see it a little later in the episode before the end of the fight. Watching them work together is pretty interesting, and they actually glue together pretty well. It's really cool because we get to see the combos not only with Thor and Doctor Strange distracting Ultron long enough for Captain Carter and T'Challa to steal the Soul Stone and get out of there. And a very cool trick too, Doctor Strange, as soon as they're about to clear the area, he opens a portal and out comes all those Marvel zombies from that universe, designed just to hold Ultron long enough so that they can escape. And it doesn't matter because this universe doesn't have a lot of intelligent life, so he doesn't feel as bad. And the whole reason is not for the zombies, but the fact that they brought the zombified Scarlet Witch, who holds him off a little bit, but of course this Ultron is still powered by about 5 of the 6 Infinity Stones, and is able to completely annihilate the planet, hopefully killing the zombies as well, because we don't need them coming back in season 2. On the Earth that they end up is the Ultron Earth that we saw in episode 8, and they're about to try to destroy the stones until Black Widow shows up, and it's very confused in trying to get an understanding of who all these people are, because she is supposed to be the last one still alive, and obviously has some trust issues, makes total sense. But Captain Carter, being the person that she is able to calm her down and to get her on the team. And that's another knock that I kind of have on this episode in terms of the Watcher's choices. It's later revealed towards the end of the episode that everything that happened, the Watcher already saw happen. So he knows all the ins and outs of what's going to happen. I'm a little disappointed though. It would have been cool if he had brought her on at the beginning, but If this was a part of the plan, okay, because she is integral to the plan. The actual way that they defeat Ultron at the end is actually her plan. It's Black Widow's plan. And it shows how much of a capable person Black Widow is. And that's one of the cool things about all of the episodes of What If that have featured Black Widow as a character. She has been the most capable character. In episode 3, the episode when all the Avengers were being picked off by Hank Pym, she was the lone survivor up till the end, and was able to help figure out a lot of this stuff before her untimely demise. And especially with episode 8, when we saw her and Hawkeye being the last survivors as well, it just shows how capable she is. And I've seen a lot of people discuss this as well. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in and completely agree with what they're saying, that yes, Black Widow was very disservice in the live action movies, and What If has done a really great job kind of reinvigorating the character. It's just sad that unfortunately it's probably a little too late for the character in live action. Obviously the character is dead in the current iteration of live action movies. Who knows, there could be multiverse of shenanigans that can bring back a version of her. But we technically have a new Black Widow and Yelena Belova in the live action movies. I'm rambling, let's continue. So they're able to kind of take Ultron down to the point, and they used one of the remaining arrows that Hawkeye had that had the Arnim-Zola virus on it, or Arnim-Zola, and were able to launch it at Ultron, distracting him long enough in order to infect him with the virus, which was the whole plan from episode 8. The plan came to fruition. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, the betrayal of Killmonger initiated, where he used the Ultron head that he obviously and very sinisterly kept the entire time, used it to absorb the nanobots and the Infinity Stones, becoming very powerful and trying to enlist the agreement of the rest of the team in order to use the stones to fix all of their universe's problems. But of course, T'Challa being the main one, and even Doctor Strange understanding that this is not right, this is not cool. They wanted to get the stones from him, but of course he turns on everybody. But then we get, which is a nice nod to the actual comic version of Arnim-Zola, we get him arising in Vision's body, where you see his face and his chest.
Say it with your chest!
Which is a very awesome callback to the actual design of the character in the comics. It's a weird design, but I'm glad they kind of made it work here. So he confronts Killmonger, and they're struggling to both try to get the stones. At that moment is when Doctor Strange realizes that their mission wasn't to defeat Ultron. It was just to remove the stones from their body. And he ends up encasing both, and it's a little confusing, but he ends up encasing Arnim-Zola Vision, because Arnim-Zola killed Ultron in the Mindscape. So it's Arnim-Zola inside the body of the Vision, and Killmonger wearing a hybrid Black Panther / Ultron suit in the middle, using the Force to struggle to hold the to claim the Infinity Stones. Doctor Strange encases them in a pocket universe, and it's very similar to the pocket universe he created himself at the end of his episode when his universe was collapsing onto itself. And that's basically how they win the day. Is that they weren't going to defeat them, but they stopped them. They neutralized the threat. And this is where we get the closing interaction between Uatu and Doctor Strange and the pocket universe that he currently resides in now. So with that, Ultron is defeated and the threat is neutralized, and the remaining Guardians return to their actual universes, except for Black Widow, because she doesn't want to go back to her universe. There's nothing left for her there. Everybody's dead. And of course the Watcher laments that, I can't interfere, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. But he does do something nice. He does something right. He can't interfere, so instead of putting her back in her universe, he puts her in a universe that unfortunately lost her Black Widow, which is the universe from episode 3. And we pick up from the stinger from that episode, where we see Captain America and Captain Marvel going toe-to-toe with the Asgardian forces, because Loki, of course, still is kind of in charge of Earth. And that's when Widow shows up to help turn the tide. And at least she gets some kind of a happy ending, because she gets an opportunity to really stand out and be the hero that we all know that she is capable of being. And it's a really cool way to kind of close out a lot of these stories from some of these episodes. So all the stories from each of the individual episodes had some sort of conclusion. Captain Carter was able to reunite with her team and continue their mission. And this is part of the little post-credit thing, because it seems like they found out what they were hauling on this version of the Lemurian Star in this universe, whereas actually the Hydra Smasher from the Captain Carter episode, and we don't see what's inside, but Widow tells Carter that yes, there is somebody inside of it. So I guess we'll get some sort of Winter Soldier-esque version of Steve Rogers, and maybe if they revisit this for a season 2. Overall, I think the episode was great. I thought the episode was really good. It was a lot of fun. It definitely does require you watching all the previous episodes leading up to it, because they don't take any real time to explain anything else. The expectation is that you have watched every episode. So this isn't like the movie where you can just kind of jump in and they'll give you a little bit of an idea. No. They expect you to treat this as a season finale. You better watch all the episodes. And if you want, watch my reviews after you watch the episode. I would really appreciate that. But overall, I think the episode was really good. As a season overall, it was a lot of fun telling these different stories. As the season progressed, not only did the stories shift in tone wildly sometimes, rather from a very positive episode to a very dark finale episode, which was a good mixture to get overall in the entire season. It leaves so much opportunity if they decide to revisit this for a season 2. It would make a lot of sense that if this becomes a seasonal thing, then you can have different teams of Guardians of the Multiverse with each season. You don't have to necessarily have certain characters always come back. It would be fun because I love the connection between Carter and Widow, and, you know, Doctor Strange and Captain Carter. I thought that was great. Of course, real life sucks, and we won't really get to see more of the T'Challa Star-Lord, but maybe they can do a different version of T'Challa if they want to. Have it voiced by another actor, only with the animated one, because you can have different actors voice different characters. Clearly they did that because Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, they didn't come back to revoice their characters, and it wasn't a big deal. It really wasn't. It's definitely some criticism of some ways that they can handle it. The pacing of some of the episodes were wildly different. Some of the episodes I wish were a little bit longer. I definitely wish that maybe this would have been 10 episodes, or they might have shifted one of the other episodes, because we got this last minute introduction to this Gamora character, which just felt completely out of the blue and really just kind of, like, I kind of wanted to see what her story was as well. I mean, she defeated Thanos, and it's very interesting how Tony Stark and Thanos have been completely bitched throughout the entire series, which is hilarious to me. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen her episode as well. I'm glad we got resolution for all the other characters pretty much, to the point where we don't necessarily have to revisit them if we don't need to, because they all seem to be wrapping up their episodes or their universes as best as they can with these characters. I do hope we get a season 2. There wasn't an announcement for a season 2 yet, but I think New York Comic Con is coming up. I think it might be this weekend, if I'm right, or it might be next weekend. I can't remember. But maybe we'll get an announcement for a season 2. That, or at the Disney Plus Day that's coming up in November. That would make sense to announce if they were doing a season 2 as well. But besides some pacing issues and some last minute character introductions, I think overall, the first season of What If was great. I think it was a great shift in telling these different stories, these vastly different stories from the multiverse. I like how they took a point of pointing out these one instances that can have such a huge ripple effect on characters and overall events and the history of the MCU, which is it's just interesting to watch. And I can't say this enough, the animation was on point. I love the blending of the 2D and 3D animation that they did. It looked great. And especially in this episode, like some of the sequences had these beautiful slow motion shots between the actions. There was this one hot potato scene between people trying to grab onto the Soul Stone, and there was a point where the camera was focused on the Soul Stone, and you just saw everything happening around it. I thought that was interesting. and a really good use of the animation. Yeah, I said it in previous episodes, there are just shots that look like they could be panels of artwork on a wall. So whoever's doing the animation, top-notch job. I think that was fantastic, and I would totally be down for a season 2. There's a lot of references and Easter eggs in the episodes, so definitely keep an eye on those. Like I said, I pointed out the one with Arnim Zola, which was reference to his comic book outfit. Definitely like that they, of course, referenced the rotating camera shot that they did in the first Avenger. That's referenced in here as well. There's a lot of callbacks from previous episodes. There are really funny moments. I like how Doctor Strange said, okay, here comes a non-compliant spell, and basically gave everyone powered, protection, powered armor, so to speak, which looked really beautiful as well. I like how they were able to reintroduce and reincorporate elements from other episodes, especially bringing back the zombies for one quick thing, and having all these characters and keeping continuity worked really well. Overall, a really good season 1, 2. It's definitely shows you what could have been, and in some cases what should have been. But, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all my videos. I really do appreciate it. This was a fun first season of What If. Hopefully we'll get a season 2, and I'll gladly do episode reviews for those as well. If you are new to the channel and this was your first video, hey, thanks for checking me out. My name's Will. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I do this sort of thing on a weekly basis. If this is your bag, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to get to know you. I do, movie reviews, trailer reactions, discussions, drinking, gaming. I do a whole bunch of different stuff. It's a lot of stuff on the channel. Feel free to check all of those out. You can follow me on a lot of different social media platforms. Those are linked below and at the end of this video. So feel free to like, share, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.